Social media in Australia, per capita, you are the most active online. You have some of the most active social networks, some of the most logged in users, some of the first to adopt social media in terms of, not necessarily corporate, but just in terms of building relationships with friends. So kudos to you guys. But I also think what's also here too is as you look around the room and in terms of the tweets, like there's also a really nice, I think that community is inherent. So like in some areas that I've been in, like Thailand, where it may be a little awkward to start tweeting on anything other than entertainment, I've seen tweets about everything. I've seen posts about everything. It's a very open and a very engaging market. So thanks for allowing me to learn a lot about you guys.
I think one of the things that Annalise has been able to teach us is that, in terms of the people that are actually online and participating in social media, there's only a really tiny percentage that are actually in the market to buy a car. I think it was 2%. 2%. So that means that we've got a job to do in terms of, telling our brand story to people that aren't in the market for a car, and how do we do that? One of the things that I would say is a bit of a difference between the Australian and the US market is that the US market, there tend to be more bloggers that specialise in automotive. There aren't a whole bunch of people that are blogging specifically around automotive in Australia, and so there's a lot more forum participation. So people will tend to find a community and go along to that community instead of purporting to be, experts in that field. So that's kind of an interesting difference between our markets.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And it certainly wouldn't be a social media event, particularly when we've got representatives from two major corporate entities, without mentioning a four-letter word: risk.
Ooh, yeah.
Risk. How do you manage risk internally, externally? I was at a conference the other day, and it was a two-day conference just on risk and crime and issues, crime. And so it's obviously big on everyone's, that and ROI, they both started with R, the R words. But risk, internal or external, and are the lawyers all over you, or have you kept them at bay, or how do you handle that?
The best thing we did is, in each market that I'm at, I ask who is the legal team and who's the coolest person on that legal team. Get them trained in social. You need an advocate. You need someone on the legal team who understands that we cannot put legalese out on Twitter. If we sound like a press release, if we sound like a legal release, and if we took their advice, which was to shut up, it's not where the future is going. It's not where people want us to be. I think when we are looking at risk assessment, think about your company, your own company. Like for us, for Holden or for GM, when I go and talk to my neighbors, I am GM. I've always been GM. Before even I was blogging or I was the voice behind the GM Blogs Twitter account, I've always been GM. We've always been talking to our friends and families about our work forever. So this is just a little more formal if you think about it. Now I have a way of tracking it. So when we look at risk and risk aversion, the first thing you have to do if you are a corporation is to set up a social media policy that makes it crystal clear what social media engagement means. What do we expect? If you are an employee and you are engaging in social media, what does that look like? So ESPN, which is the large sports broadcasting company, has a social media policy where if you work for ESPN, you cannot be on social media. General Motors is quite different. So with the number of people that we have, we want our employees to be out there, but we don't want confidential information to be leaked. We don't want people to go out there and put disparaging comments about our competitors because we just think that's not classy. You want people to have a good and fruitful discussion. So pretty much our social media policy is don't be a jerk, don't say anything that's confidential, don't propagate rumors, and always identify yourself as GM. So if you're in a forum, note that you work for GM so that it gives you credibility and expertise. And if you get yourself into hot water, don't run away. Come and let someone know on the core social media team. So it's very simple, anyone can know this, and we have a training session that you can take online, or we'll do training sessions once a month with core groups, an open training session where you can bring your lunch and learn. But I think first, when you're identifying risk, you have to establish what is your company ready to do. No, are you ready to have a social media policy to have your employees tweet? Or do you go like ESPN and say anyone from our company cannot tweet? But I think you have to do what's right for your company. There are so many examples of social media policies out there on the web, and I'm happy to share the General Motors one if anyone needs it.
I think what I would share on risk is our experience with our Facebook community. We've made some really valuable learnings from our Facebook community, and we've really worked to set some guidelines for those people that participate. You know, we've created a channel where we're inviting people to make comment about our products and share, you know, their passion for our brand with other fans. But that doesn't mean that it's, you know, it's open season on. They can put it whatever they want. They can drop the F-bomb. They can, you know, they can attack each other personally. So we've put some guidelines in place, and we'll actually, in order to keep that community, you know, a nice place to go, and recognising that we've got a lot of young kids that like to go on the Holden Facebook page, is that we'll go in and we'll delete inappropriate stuff, and we'll tell people that we're deleting inappropriate stuff, and we'll send them messages, and we'll explain to them why we've deleted their comment. It's actually been really well respected by the community. We've also found that our community's become self-regulating. So if somebody goes on there and says something disparaging about our products, then, you know, largely the community will actually respond on our behalf. But it's a risk when you put a channel out there and you encourage people to participate in discussion, because sometimes it can be a little robust. We've got our fans of V8s who are not fans of our small cars, but you know what? We've got fans of small cars that are not fans of V8s. So it's kind of you know, having a happy place for all of our fans to go and discuss our brands. And so those guidelines have really helped us to manage risk in that respect, to make it a great place to be.
I'm sure the Ford fans love coming in and having a go, and then the Holden guys just fight them off, and it's
It's all good fun. Bring it on.
Bring it on. Just a couple more questions, folks. We've got another one here from online. In terms of using social media as a customer service channel, and this one's for Annalisa. How do you'd have so many questions? How do you answer? Do you answer every question, or does your team answer every question, or is there a system that every second question, or only the ones you can answer, and the hard ones get pushed to the side?
No, we've learned a lot. We've been managing a Facebook community for about 5 years now. So there were some competitors that were straight up deleting comments or ignoring them, and you can't. In our opinion, you can't. But there are some people that, no matter what I say, you know, if you're coming to me and we basically have a quantification system. So we have one group where we'll call them a rager. So there's some people that come on the page, there's nothing wrong in particular, but they come on and say, F you, Chevrolet, Ford is better. Well, my response to them is, interesting, I would love to hear why you think Ford is better. And then the community takes over. Or I leave some of those comments alone and let them die. Because some of those raging comments that have nothing to do with an actual problem, they're just venting about, you know, whether or not we got a bailout or et cetera and so forth. There's nothing that I can do as a community manager that's going to change their mind, and in fact, my interaction may actually make it worse. But if you have a question, if you have an actual customer service problem, then it's my obligation as a community manager, and we train our customer relationship management teams to do this specifically. The way that we have to approach these problems is a little unique. You know, if there's a problem with your Coca-Cola being flat, there's not going to be a recall of all Coca-Cola. If you have a problem with your car, we have to take that very, very seriously. We can't ignore it. So the best thing that we've done is to go with our customer service teams who actually operate the call center and train them how to use Twitter and Facebook and identify community managers. And all these people do, there's a guy named Jared who's very busy, and he will go every day, every hour, and look through the threads, through the discussion boards on Facebook, on Twitter, looking for people who've said that they've had problems, and you will see a note from Jared publicly that says, I'm Jared from GM, or from me that says, I'm Annalisa from GM, and I'd like to help. I sent you a direct message with my contact information. And we give you our real contact information, not a 1-800 number, so that when you call us, I know who you are, and I know your problem, and you don't have to explain it all over again.